Here we go, everybody. The season is right around the corner. We're going to be previewing all of these conferences in the next 2 days. I am so excited to get through it. Make sure you guys like this video if you like the video and what we're doing over here, and subscribe as we get more content. We're going to be breaking down the standings of all 4 Power 4 football conferences. And then following that, we're going to have a conference championship video where I'm putting together the matchups of every single conference, including the group of 5. We're going to start with the group of 5, and then we're going to pick a Heisman winner from there. And then after that, we do playoff predictions, and then it's time for game previews. Iowa State, Kansas State coming later this week, and so is Hawaii and Stanford. I'm excited for it. Hopefully these previews don't spoil those games a little bit too much, but it's at least going to be a little bit more of a deep dive into those games. So make sure you guys, like I said, like the video and subscribe. All right, we're going to jump into it with the ACC, a conference that last year was able to get 2 teams into the playoff, but with both teams losing in the first round, you wonder if their reputation has taken a hit. We're going to go best offensive player, best defensive player, and then the coach of the year prediction before we get into the standings. And then once we get into the standings, based on those standings, I have put together 2 teams, a sleeper team and an overhyped team. So let's start with the ACC offensive player of the year. There is an obvious pick. You got Cade Klubnik up there at Clemson, but there are also some other players that could really play, like Kevin Jennings, for example, is going to look to take a major step forward after last year was a successful season, but there was a lot that Kevin Jennings could have done. I'm going to adjust my camera here, so don't mind me, to get a little bit more of a favorable angle. And then you also got some other players, like, for example, Chandler Morris over at Virginia, I think could potentially light it up. You got Haynes King over at Georgia Tech, who a lot of people love, including myself. But I'm going to go with the obvious answer. We got Cade Klubnik. Klubnik had the ability last year, towards the end of the year, to really elevate that wide receiving core. It also helped that those guys started getting healthy, like Antonio Williams. And I think this Clemson offense took off once Cade Klubnik got comfortable. The production jump and the stats jump that he took from year 1 to year 2, I expect something more similar to last year for Cade Klubnik this upcoming year. I think that the Clemson Tigers are certainly the favorites in this conference for a reason, and you got to start with number 2, Cade Klubnik, on that offense. Now on the defensive side of the ball, Clemson's got a couple of dogs too. You also got a couple of dogs down in Miami. You got guys like Kyle Eford over at Georgia Tech. That's going to be a dominant player. But I'm going with an NFL corner prospect. We're going with, I didn't change the slide. We're going with Mr. Chandler Rivers. Chandler Rivers, to me, is going to be one of the top 3 corners in the NFL draft next year, maybe even the top corner. He has decided to stick it out with Duke and Manny Diaz. I think he fits perfectly in that system. He's a great man lockdown corner. Again, these are not predictions for who's necessarily going to win the award. This is my prediction for who will play the best throughout the season, because of awards being such a stat-based thing. You know, I think that Chandler Rivers could have a great year, but he's not going to have the stats because nobody wants to throw it to that guy. And then finally, we got our Coach of the Year predictions. A lot of what I look for with these conference predictions is a coach that overachieves. So I feel like a perfect season would be the only way that you consider Dabo Swinney or Mario Cristobal. Fran Brown, of course, doing what he did last year, proved to be Coach of the Year material. But this year, I have a team that I think is going to be big time. There are 2 coaches that could win this award. One of them is Pat Narduzzi, but my pick for it is Brent Key. Brent Key is a great offensive line coach, a beautiful hire with Tyler Santucci last year. Curious to see how Blake Gideon is going to be able to replace him. But even with that being said, this offense really built on a lot of toughness, being able to get the ball out of Haynes King's hands quickly too when he was healthy. Of course, he dealt with that shoulder injury in the back half of the season. That's definitely something that we got to consider too. And I think that this team is ready to take off in 2025. So without further ado, let's release the ACC standings for this year. Here we go. As you see it, I'm going to get rid of that little tag there. I got Clemson and Miami playing in the ACC championship against each other, both 7-1 in conference and everybody with at least 2 losses. But those next teams up are Georgia Tech and Pittsburgh to me, which brings me to my sleeper team. The Pittsburgh Panthers, man. Don't sleep on the Pitt Panthers. They're going to be insanely good this upcoming year with this squad that's coming back. Eli Holstein looking to deliver the rock, but also Desmond Reed just shy of 1,000 yards. I'm willing to, assuming that he stays healthy, I'm willing to bet that he's going to have big time production this year. He's going to get over 1,000 yards. Des Reed is a really, really good running back. They have a good O-line. They have a good receiving core. We'll see if some of the more unproven guys can step up. But Pittsburgh is my sleeper team. More people see Georgia Tech coming. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, last I checked, their win total was 5.5. I'm slamming that over. That's going to be in the walk that line segment when we do the preseason walk that line, which will be sandwiched somewhere in between all of this stuff. Then you got Louisville and Duke, I think, are kind of the next teams up. They're going to be very dangerous. Duke with the stout defense, Louisville with the explosive offense. Even if you're not a fan of Miller Moss, I'm not necessarily a fan of Miller Moss. He's a guy that is still going to be able to distribute. He's got a lot of toys to work with at the wide receiver core. I think those two teams are going to be really good. I have increased my love on NC State, by the way. 7-5 is nothing crazy for sure, but I still think that they're going to be a pretty solid team and bounce back this year. And this is where my overhyped team comes into play. We got SMU. I got them at 7-5, 4-4 in conference, and honestly, giving them one of those 2 wins against Baylor and TCU, that might not even happen. So I could see them having 2 out-of-conference losses. Their schedule just does not break the same way. I think they're going to miss a little bit at the wide receiver position, and I'm not sure if their defense is also going to be as good. Plus, they had a lot of fortune last year. After that, teams that are just going to be able to get into a bowl game, I think Syracuse, they could pop off, but there's just so much unknown with them. Same with North Carolina. They could pop off, but there's so much unknown with them. Florida State is another mystery team. So you got these 3 mystery teams here, 9, 10, and 11 with Florida State, North Carolina, and Syracuse. And I really like Virginia. I think their offense has a chance to be really, really good. I know losing Malachi Fields kind of hurts, but I think that Virginia team could be a sneaky good team. Boston College, by the way, I do really like. I love Dylan Lonergan as the starting quarterback, but it's his first year starting, and also they have a tough draw within conference play. Virginia Tech, I'm out on them. I think that this is the final year of Brent Pry's tenure over there. California, 6-6 might be good enough for Wilcox. I just don't know if it will be with all the takeover, Ron Rivera, and I am curious at what point, when do they turn to Jaron Keyway, Sagapolatelli to try to keep him happy over there. 5-7 for Wake Forest, but I think they're going to be very sneaky competitive. Claiborne, the running back over there, is really solid. I don't trust him, Robbie Ashford, whatsoever at the quarterback position, though, even though I think that Jake Dicker could be a very good fit for that Wake Forest program moving forward. And in Stanford, I'm predicting them to go 0-12. I personally feel like they're a mess. Some people were like saying, hey, they might be better than you think. They went 3-9 last year, and they've gotten worse. Now they fire their really good head coach in Troy Taylor. They bring in Frank Reich, tell us that he's going to be just a 1-year rental, and their out-of-conference schedule is tough. Hawaii is going to be a very tough first game, and I can't wait to preview that game. And maybe I'll change my tune because I think that's the best chance Stanford has to win a game is week 0 against Hawaii. And then, of course, they play against BYU. I am very high on BYU. We'll see what it looks like with Bear Bachmeier taking Jake Retzloff's spot, but I think BYU is really good. Notre Dame obviously is going to be a tough out, but also San Jose State. Yeah, they're probably going to lose to Texas, but Stanford, that might be a game that San Jose State is favored. The other thing, too, is I'm not sure if Stanford's even going to be favored in a single game. So that's why I have Stanford going 0-12. So we got the conference championship all listed out. It's going to be Clemson and Miami out of the ACC. Who's going to win that game and punch the automatic berth to the playoff? And then will the loser of that game be able to sneak into the playoff? That's going to be the question. Am I underrating anybody and am I overrating anybody? Make sure you comment that down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.